Hey, how you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Big Frog's 4x4. Today's episode, we're going to talk the 5.9 Dodge Cummins diesel no start. Crank the engine, it doesn't fire. We have no fuel pressure. So I hooked the code regulator up to it, and I got a demand of just over 5,500 psi for fuel pressure, and I'm only getting, while cranking, about 1,700. So not nearly enough to get the engine to fire over. I'm going to show you some steps and different things to test to figure out where the problem is. Alright, some tools you're going to need: 1-inch socket, a 3/4 inch socket, deep wells, a 1/2 inch ratchet with a decent sized handle, or a ratchet you can put a pipe or something on the end of it. What I'm going to be doing is removing the fuel rail pressure relief valve and installing the block off plug. Now you can get these for $25 on Amazon. Not recommended that you keep them in. This is just to test to make sure your valve isn't bad. It's cheaper to spend $25 than it is $100 and some for the new valve and it not being the problem. So this is just for testing purposes. They recommend that you keep the valve in there, the bypass valve in there, pressure relief valve on the fuel rail. That way the fuel doesn't overpressurize your injectors and cause any kind of body cracking or premature wear or something on your injectors. If that's not the issue, then I'm going to install this one at a time. It is a plug for your fuel line for each injector. You take the fuel line off the fuel rail, you screw this on top, that'll plug the fuel from going to that injector. You try to start the engine, and if the engine starts, then you know that that is the injector that's the issue. Alright, you want to start with your 3/4 inch socket. You want to place it on top of your tube here, where your banjo bolt is, and break that loose. You do want to be careful, there could be fuel pressure in there. This has been sitting for a little bit. So down here on the side of your fuel filter is a 17mm banjo bolt as well, and that has to come out. Now remember, on banjo bolts, there is a washer on both sides of the head of the bolt that you make sure you don't want to lose those. Once it's broke loose, it comes out fairly easy. And like I said, once again, you do not want to lose that washers that are down there, one there. And now you can move that line out of the way. If you saw, this one for the back side just fell. Now it's stuck back here. I'd stick it back on the banjo bolt. That way you don't lose it. Now we're removing that line. There's also, underneath this line here, another seal for the other banjo bolt. I'm going to put that on there, just so it doesn't get lost. Now you can move that line out of the way. Now you grab your 1-inch socket. You break your bypass valve loose, and you should be able to screw that out by hand in. Then you grab your bypass valve plug. As you can see, it is not all the way through. It is a solid piece of machined stainless steel. Set that down in place. Screw it in. This does not have to be monstrously tight, so make sure you do not over tighten it. Just till it feels snug. Now you can come back and get your banjo bolts again and your washers. Just start that in, and then you want to go do your other one. You want to leave that line loose. So you come down here and you install this seal back in and your other banjo bolt. Always start these by hand. Do not start them with anything else. That way you don't cross thread anything. Grab your 17 millimeter. And once again, just snug them up. Back to your 3/4 inch socket. Snug up this banjo bolt. Once again, snug, not overly tight. All right, now you just want to start the engine. If the engine starts, you'll know that your bypass valve was bad. If the engine still does not start, then you're going to move on to the injector rails here and plug one of these lines at a time with your plug cap. And then once you've come to the one injector that's bad, the engine will start. Hopefully you only have one. If you have more than one injector that's bad, you might need more than one of these plugs. Okay, now we're going to try to start the truck. Alright, truck did not start. So most likely we're going to have an injector bad. We'll put that bypass valve back in. I'm pretty sure there's an injector bad on this truck, as you can probably tell from my thumbnail down below with all the white smoke. I take the wire, positive wire, off the grid heater, the intake heater, and I sprayed a little ether in it and the truck will fire up. But when it does, it throws all kinds of white smoke. So stay tuned to more videos, more testing of the injectors, how to cap them off. Stay tuned for more work to the Dodge Cummins, more fuel injector testing. And as always, God bless.